Okay, so you have a car in New York City and you're wondering where you're gonna park this thing. So I definitely don't recommend having a car in New York City if you can avoid it, because two things. It could be a pain and it can also be very, very expensive. Now, as I say that, I have a car in New York City, so I'm contradicting myself. I didn't always have a car in New York City, but I am a residential real estate agent, as you guys probably know if you watch this channel. And I do also work in areas outside of New York City as well. So it does make it a lot easier for myself and my husband, because he's also a real estate agent that works with me. It makes it a lot easier for us to go in and out of the city very quickly, because we live in downtown Manhattan and it's very, very hard for us to get to the trains and then get out to the suburbs to do appointments. It's a hot mess. So therefore we have a car. But this car, let me tell you, drove us nuts at certain points because we just don't know where to park it sometimes. Now, we know a lot of people who do the lovely street parking in New York City, where they park it, try to find a spot in their neighborhood, and then they wait for the street cleaning day, because there's always street cleaning in New York City. It's when they actually have the big giant machines that I have no idea what their names of those machines are. They bring them out on the streets once a week, or twice a week in some neighborhoods, but I believe once a week in every neighborhood. And they bring them out through the streets. All the cars need to go. They need to be cleared out from either both sides of the street or one side of the street. And then if they're not cleared out, they get a ticket. So the people who are street parking will wait for that street cleaning day, and then they will move the car and either literally wait in their car for the street cleaning to be done so they can repark there, or move it and find another spot and start the whole process over again. So that can definitely be a hot mess. Now, when I first started working in New York City, I actually lived in Jersey and not in New York City. And I lived in a very small town right above Hoboken, which is Weehawken. And I know that there's some people out there who definitely know where this is. It's basically like the north suburban part of Hoboken. And it's like, the town itself is like tiny. It's basically like 5 streets long. It's right next to Hoboken. People who live in Weehawken just walk to Hoboken to do everything. And it basically just feels like you're in North Hoboken. So anyway, I did street park in Weehawken. It was also a pain. There was a little bit of like free municipal parking at some points. So there, it's definitely a little bit easier to have a car in New Jersey, at least Jersey City and Hoboken, than it is in New York City. Brooklyn, you can definitely find street parking, and same with Queens. And then the Bronx, Staten Island, that's a whole different scenario. Staten Island, you probably have a driveway in most areas, and if not, if you have a apartment building, there's a lot of parking garages there. But when it comes to Manhattan, it is very, very hard to find street parking. At least I don't have the patience for it. Now, you have that option, or you can pay for a garage or a parking spot. Now, parking spots are very, very, very expensive in New York City. So, fun fact, when I was living in Tribeca, which was a year ago at the time that you're seeing this video, the parking spots near my building were going for $800 and $900. That is insanity. If you go into like multiple other places across the country, let alone the world, that is people's rent, and you're paying that to park a car. So I did not do that, because I just could not even fathom that, even if I could do that. So what I was doing at that time was I was parking my car in Brooklyn, in Williamsburg, Brooklyn to be specific, even though I was living in Tribeca, which definitely sucked, because Williamsburg and Tribeca are not the closest neighborhoods, so it definitely was a little bit of a stretch to get there. And fun fact, myself and my husband would actually bike to Williamsburg from Tribeca like all the time on city bikes. And sometimes we were like feeling a little lazy and would take an Uber. But it definitely was a hike to get to our car all the time. So now, we didn't need our car every single day, that's for sure. But we did need it enough for that to be kind of annoying after a little bit of time. So we did that for almost 1 year, parked in Brooklyn. And then now I don't live in Tribeca anymore. I live in a neighborhood called Battery Park City, which is right next to Tribeca. And I do park here now. Parking is not $900. It is under $500, but still pricey. That's still very, very pricey. Now, the weird thing about Manhattan specifically is that in other parts of the world, when you rent an apartment, your apartment comes with a parking spot, or they like charge you for a parking spot like a couple $100. But in Manhattan, that is most of the time not even an option. Like, there is no parking that comes with your apartment. And it's because a lot of people do move here without cars, because it's just not necessary for most people to have a car. So I do recommend that if you can get away with not having a car, and if you're coming from some other area of the country where you're used to driving and you kind of just thought you would automatically bring your car, I want you to kind of think twice about it, or maybe try living in New York City for a little bit without your car and see how that goes. I know some people feel very like landlocked when they don't have their car. I get it. I get it. I know a lot of people who felt like that, but you could definitely do without a car. There's the buses, the subways, there's so much within walking distance in almost every neighborhood in Manhattan. So like you can definitely get away without having a car. But if you do need to get a parking spot, in any of the garages that I was like talking about in this video, you can go through Spot Hero, the app. So you can download that app, and then on that app you can see all the spaces that would give you like a daily rate, but also you could kind of like switch or like toggle it to give you a monthly rate too. So you can find those monthly rates there as well.